call this meeting of the South Redford Board of Education together at 6:28. Oh, all the clocks are wrong. My watch. May we stand for the pledge of allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is roll call. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Daniel Winston.
Present.
Lori Hicks, absent. Anthony Johnson.
Present.
Cheryl Fletcher, absent. Misha Early.
Present.
Amanda Fletcher, present. Shirley Tolliver.
Present. Next item on the agenda is Superintendent Communications. Mr. Dowd.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have one communication this evening, and that is last week, coupled with our Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Department, we had our point coach visit for our literacy curriculum, Success for All. And I want to congratulate the Adams staff, as well as Fisher and Jefferson and Vandenberg. The preliminary feedback that we've received from those visits from last week is that student performance is starting to head in a positive direction. And that is because of the incredible job that our teachers are doing with implementation, with great fidelity, and getting back to having students grow in student performance. So congratulations to our teachers at all 4 elementary schools, as well as the Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Department as a whole. And that concludes my communications this evening, Madam President.
Okay. Are there any corrections to the agenda? There are none. The agenda will be as written. Next item on the agenda is board communication.
Madam President.
Yes.
Certainly at your
Oh,
discretion.
yes, I did.
Yep.
Right.
At your discretion, if we wanted to modify the agenda.
Yes. I have it right here. We will be adding item number 13 to our agenda, and it will be discuss and consider the 21F of the state school aid fund. And that will be item 13. And 14 will be comments from the audience. 15 will be plus Delta. And our last item will be 16. What?
You need the support, and you need to ask for it.
Okay. Do I have a support of the addition to the agenda? It's been supported by Mrs. Early. Do I have a support? Support by Mr. Johnson. Thank you. All right. That's what I like about my board. They keep me intact. I do have a...
Did you want to call the roll, Madam President, for that addition?
All in favor?
Or do you want
Do a roll call, please.
Daniel Winston.
Aye.
Anthony Johnson. Misha Early.
Aye.
Amanda Fletcher is a nay. Shirley Tolliver.
Aye. Ayes have it. Next item on, I have a board communication. On October the 19th, which is next Thursday, the Wayne County Association of School Boards will have a meeting at Wayne Risa, 5:30. And if anyone is interested in going, would you please let me know so I can let Darlene know? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience, topics related to the agenda. Are there any?
No.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a board member willing to?
Madam President,
Yes.
I move the adoption of the following resolution.
It's been moved by Mrs. Early. Do I have a support?
Support.
It's been supported by Mr. Winston. All in favor?
Aye.
Five ayes, okay. Any nays? No. Adoption? Supported. Next item on the agenda is presentation of Adams Elementary School. This is, okay.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Mrs. Portia Flowers, the principal of Adams Elementary School.
Well, welcome everybody, thank you for coming to our ribbon cutting. We have some exciting new things happening here at Adams, and there's just some good things that are happening that we have continued from the previous year. And my voice is going out something. Let's see, I get to use one of the new tools. So, as we get started, at the beginning of the year, we always talk about why we're here and what we're doing. So we have the 3 big rocks that come from our wonderful superintendent. We're focusing on relationships and responsiveness, safety, curriculum instruction, and assessment. And this year, really looking at curriculum instruction and assessment. And that's what we'll be talking about today, a lot of that. So we're going to jump right in. I'm not going to hold you up. We're going to jump right into our M-STEP, ELA, and math proficiency. And we're going to look right at grade 3. So you can see that we have our M-STEP scores all the way from 2019. We skip a couple years because of COVID. We're going to 22, 23. And when you look at 23, we have your comparison for the M-STEP, the district, county, and state. So right now, at ELA, look, 2023, M-STEP proficiency is 6% above the district and at Adams is 6% above the county. So 3rd grade did an excellent job in showing growth from 22 to 23. And for math, proficiency increased 9% from 22 and is above the district and the county. So 3rd grade did an excellent job in putting in that work last year, and we're going to expect great things for this year. As we look at into grade 4, again, it's the same map. You can see scores from 2019, 22, and 23. And some highlights from this is if you look at our ELA scores, we're at 40%, and for math, 25% at 4th grade. So M-STEP proficiency is 5% above the district and 6% above the county. And for math, proficiency increased from 12% from 22. So of course, math is a growth area, but you can see that our scores are increasing. And again, we look to see even more this year. For 5th grade, we have even more scores. We have ELA, math, social studies, and science. And we have a lot of good things that are happening here. So in 23, M-STEP increased 5% from 22. And in math, M-STEP increased 5% from 22. Social studies and science, we have our STEM room, so we're going to do some good work over there. We're not going to talk about those scores. Just know that we have work to do, and we are focusing on making sure that that work gets done this year. So the reason why I'm showing you this is something that I share with the students, I share with the teachers, and we also share with the parents. We did this last year, we're going to continue this practice this year. One of the things is knowing is power. So if you know exactly what not proficient is, proficient, those things are important. So we share those baseline scores with everybody. Once a month, we have an assembly, and this is some of the information that we share with the students, so they actually know what they're striving for when you talk about being proficient at MSTEP, whether it's ELA and math. We also show those scores in science and social studies. We want the students to be goal-oriented, so this is just part of what we're doing here at Adams to make sure everybody knows exactly, what are you focusing on, what are your goals, where should you go. So this is just why I showed you this. That's part of our conversation with staff, parents, and students. When we look at this and we do data analysis, so this year, we are doing some great things, and it started with the end of the year last year. One of the things we did at Adams is we took the opportunity to talk to every single grade level and just talk about some of the great things that were happening here at Adams and some of the things that they wanted to see. And one of the things that everybody agreed on is they wanted to know more about MSTEP. They wanted to look deeper into the data. And this year, we're definitely focused on making that happen. So when we look at our peer split, which is listed in slides 3 through 5, we have identified building grade level proficiencies and deficiencies. So during our first weeks of school, the students take NWA, they take DIBELS assessments, and our wonderful intervention teacher has meetings with each of those grade levels, and they talk about which students are doing well based on those scores, and then what our small groups should look like. So that's just part of us looking at data and making plans to make sure that we're filling those gaps. We are also planning, this is a lot of words, so I'm just going to kind of do an overview for you. We're also planning to have a meeting with Nadia Macklin, which is our data person for the district, and she's going to walk us through MSTEP, scores, standards, and really give us a deep dive into what we can do better and what we should be focusing on this school year, looking at ELA, looking at math, looking at those substandards that you just don't see in that score. So a student will come home with a 1258, but what does that mean? And what we're focusing on here this year is really getting to understand what that means and then what that looks like in the classroom. So we have a meeting coming up very soon where we're going to get really granular into the data so that we can really produce some good scores. And that's what that says up here. So that's basically what we're doing. So in the now what, I mentioned this, we have win time. And one of the great things about the renovation, I'm going to connect that, is now that we have more space. So we're going to use our cafeteria space. You saw in there we have some dividers, so we're taking our small groups in there. And our paraprofessionals are working in small groups throughout the day to make sure that they're filling those gaps in math and reading. Then, like I said, we're going to do our assessment literacy to the staff. That meeting is coming up very soon. And we're always creating our slow goals and looking at the data also. So that's just a part of what we're doing here at Adams this year. All right, so besides that, one of the big three was making sure that the students' health and wellness we're meeting those needs. So we have Lincoln Behavioral Services here. We have 2 district behavior coaches, Holly and Rachel. We have Restorative Circles. You can see the picture of our this is a nice picture of our old library common area. So you just have a comparison. And those are some of the circles that happened last year. And these are some of the practices we're continuing this year. We have a new member of our faculty, which is Mr. Carter. He's our student family success mentor. And what Mr. Carter is doing is he's giving me the opportunity to get into classrooms and to observe, to get feedback, so that there's more focus on instruction during the day. And we also have a reset and sensory space, so that kids who are having some difficulties have a space to go to, can reset and go back and continue learning. Every morning there's a morning meeting slide which focuses on part of our instruction piece, which is getting along together. So we're teaching them how to get along, and then we have a peace path. That's something that happens where 2 kids get into an argument or something. They can use the peace path. So these are all the things that we're doing and focusing to make sure that our kids are not only academically where they should be, but also just their mental health is where it should be. These are some pictures from last year, but these are the things that we're continuing this year. We did have our first monthly assembly in September where we talked about ground rules and expectations. We're going to continue that practice in October. We're starting our monthly citizens this month in October. Our breakfast club is going to start up soon, and it's going to be ran by Mr. Carter, where he's mentoring boys, and we have our social worker who's going to be mentoring our girls, and we have those girl groups. And then we also will be recognizing the staff of the month to keep everybody happy and going. All right, and some of this stuff again from last year, but trunk or treat is coming up. So if you have bags of candy sitting around your house, please donate them to Adams. So our trunk or treat is coming up in October, one of our best, our favorite PTO events. We've already had a popcorn day, I believe. Mommy and Son Day, Daddy Daughter Days are coming up, sponsored by our PTO. PTO was also here selling pizza, just trying to help get their families out to see the building. We have daily win and reading time. We talked about that. And win time is what I need, which is that small group time. And then we have a weekly update, which we call this is a s'more. And we have announcements, reminders. We introduce staff members, PTO events. Just keep all the parents and community updated on what's going on every single week. All right. So I promised Mr. Winston that I wouldn't be long. And I wanted to know, Mr. Winston, did I keep my promise? There you go. If you have any questions, please let me know. But thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're going to take a break for about 15 minutes.
Madam President,
Yes.
is it possible to speak to the next agenda item before we take a break?
Okay. Next item on the agenda is consider Pierce Middle School assistant principal.
Thank you, Madam President. I am pleased to recommend to the Board of Education Ms. Elizabeth DeParent for the position of assistant principal at Pierce Middle School. Ms. DeParent began her career as a teacher at Pierce Middle School in 2001. She has served the Pierce Middle School community for over 20 years. Over the years, she has been a 6th grade teacher, an 8th grade teacher, acting administrator, interim assistant principal, as well as the culture, equity, and relationships coach across the district. Elizabeth has extensive experience with Pierce's PTO and has served as a union representative for the past 8 years. She has also been a formative assessment cohort member and has been responsible for coordinating the MTSS team. Madam President, a resolution is attached for board consideration to make Ms. Elizabeth DeParent officially the middle school assistant principal at Pierce.
Do I have a board member willing to adopt the resolution?
Madam President,
Yes.
I move to adopt the following resolution.
It's been
Support.
adopted by Mrs. Early and supported by Ms. Fletcher. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
5 ayes. Any nays? 0 nays. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we'll take a break. I call this meeting back to order at 7:10. Next item on the agenda is discuss JES, BES, PMS. That's mechanical equipment help.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I will not curse you today. Good evening. We're coming to see you today, this morning, this afternoon. Now, nervous. Welcome back to the new school year. So, what we are presenting to you today is the chiller repurchase for Jefferson and Vanderbilt As you guys know, there are really long lead times for mechanical equipment, mechanical electrical equipment. Fortunately, this go around, the only mechanical equipment to purchase. In our part 2, which will be coming forth to you next board meeting, it'll be some additional mechanical equipment that will be affecting not only Jefferson and Vandenberg, but Pierce as well. The chiller manufacturer that we are recommending for this to be purchased, their price was the lowest bidder that we had, the lowest responsible bidder. They are in alignment with the price that we paid for the Adams chiller as well. And they are the same manufacturer. So across the board for your district so far, you're having the same manufacturer for all the chiller equipment that you guys have, which will be great maintenance-wise down the line. If you guys have any questions about it, please let me know.
To the chair.
Yes.
Kelly, I don't remember if I asked you this before. Is there a warranty on the chillers?
They come with a manufacturer warranty, and I do not remember the year. Typically, manufacturer warranties are 5 years for this type of equipment. And then we also will have, when we come before you for the construction portion of the schools, we're going to have the extended contract warranty as well. That's all.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
I will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yes, the curtain comes.
Oh, I think I'll see it.
That's my favorite. Thank you.
Thank you, God.
Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider district-wide automated external defibrillator.
Thank you, Madam President. Myself, along with the cabinet, as well as our district security and attendance coordinator, Mr. Keith Cooper, are recommending to the Board of Education a district-wide automated external defibrillator project. Bids were solicited and received for the work. 10 vendors submitted their proposals, and the proposals were reviewed by Keith Cooper, who also conducted the post-bid interview. The company that submitted the lowest responsible bid for the work required was Team Life at $58,707.46. This project includes supplying 36 AED units to be utilized throughout the district, 2 training devices, as well as the cases and service and maintenance, as well as shipping. The bid award would be paid for out of our grant funds and would not impact general fund. Madam President and members of the Board of Education, Mr. Keith Cooper is here this evening should the board have any questions. And there is also a resolution attached for board consideration.
Good evening.
Good evening.
If you have any questions.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how many you would need at each school? Like,
Yeah, we have it broken down.
Okay.
Yeah, it's completely broken down. It's, most elementaries are 3. The middle school is, I believe, 5. The high school was 9. 3 portables to get them out to the field. 1 at the middle school, 2 at the high school. The one thing that we have lost is we're no longer a heart-safe school, and that was a big to-do within the state. And this will put us back right in that. And it allows us to post some things around. Everybody will be trained on them, along with, and it's not just, it's Nick and Kelly at the high school, the health teachers. They're certified in the AED, I'm certified in the AED, plus the company's going to come out and put on training for the entire district to be certified in the AEDs. Along with the selecting this, when I started this, I'm sorry, Mr., is it okay? All right. When I selected this, I did not look at a single company. I found the AED that I thought was the best for us in the district. And then I looked through all of the bids, and I only found one of them offering this particular AED. And the best part about this AED is there's no switching of pads. So the pads that go on a child, an infant, a child, and an adult are the same. The only thing that matters is the button you push. And it's all audio feedback to you what's going on. Also with this particular AED, it talks you through, if you don't know CPR, how to perform CPR. And with the padding on, it will let you know if you're going deep enough, if it's sensing you going deep enough to perform the proper CPR technique. So, you know, and there's about a 3-by-4 inch LED screen that is stood up next to you, or across, I hate to say it, but across the body or next to you, and it's speaking to you the whole time. And so you have the video that's going on along with the audio, so if there's multiple people going, helping you out, you'll be able to do it. So what this AED offers, also within the bid was cabinets for all of the AEDs as well. So, and the only issue is we as a district have to hang them because of liability reasons. That's all, and signage. So,
Yes.
Will it be a annual training with that, or is this
It'll,
one-stop shop?
No. It'll be annual, but along with myself and Kelly and Nick, and then ideally both of the health teachers at the middle school and the health teachers at all the elementary will get as a certified trainer through all of this. I'll end up being able to be trained along with Kelly O'Brien as trainers of trainers. So we'll be able to go through that, but it'll fall into what we do every year with our training, and especially with new staff to make sure that they're on there as well. They'll all be labeled. We'll know where all of them are at with like a serial number. So we'll know at Adams we have these 5, and these are where they're placed, and that'll all be in a spreadsheet on a Google Doc that anybody can look at any time.
You answered my question.
Okay.
About first aid.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. My goal is to get everybody trained in first aid. It's with different between first aid and CPR, as you know. I mean,
Yeah.
first aid is one thing, CPR is
Yeah.
is vastly different. But the best part about it is it hasn't changed much in the last 3-4 years. It's just compressions and press, unless it's an infant.
Any other questions?
Sorry, I can go on and on.
Okay.
All right, thank you for your consideration.
There's a resolution. Do I have a board member willing to adopt the resolution?
Chair,
Yes,
adopt the following resolution.
it's been adopted by Mr. Winston. Do I have support? It's been supported by Mrs. Early. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? 5 ayes, 0 nays. Resolution adopted.
If I'm the chair, if I may add, that one of the good things about this is these are in stock. We're not,
Oh, very good.
we're not waiting.
We don't have to wait.
Exactly, that's another thing, is they're in stock. And I am truly hoping to have these in possession no later than next Monday.
All right, that's great. Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thanks.
All right. That's all right. Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider, the board will discuss and consider a district plan as it relates to changes for Section 21F of the State School Aid Fund. The Michigan State legislation passed changes to Section 21F of the State School Aid Act. Districts must give their virtual instruction plan approved by the board and notify parents and legal guardians prior to enactment. Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Madam President. Just as you had just read, this is part of the new state budget that was recently passed just a few months ago. is the changes to the 21F per pupil manual, which provides Michigan Department of Education guidance. And so it's recent, and it's a recent law that has brought about these changes to what's referred to as per pupil manual from the Michigan Department of Education, which it allows for school districts to count virtual instruction for up to 15 days without negatively impacting what's referred to as our day and clock hours. We have to meet a minimum number of requirements when we think about the number of school days that we have, as well as the number of hours that we have. And so this would not impact the number of days nor the number of clock hours that we submit for our state funding. As you read, it does require a Board of Education's approval, as well as advance notice to students and families for when we might wish to enact the newly adopted legislation. So if we want to be able to leverage this new change per the law, it does require board action, and that is why it is before our Board of Education this evening. In fact, we plan on using it for an upcoming testing schedule on October the 25th, and there will also be safety training occurring that day as well. So two-way interaction for learning will happen with our seniors that day, so that still counts as part of their education that they're receiving, even though it would be occurring remotely. So this is a newly adopted change from our legislature, should our South Redford Board of Education wish to leverage that at certain moments, whether it be for testing or emergency school closures. And then there's also some latitude with professional development, should that be something that our Board of Education would like to take advantage of. That's all I have, Madam
Does
President.
anybody have any questions?
To the chair.
Yes.
I know that our district went into a situation last year where we kind of ran over days. So is this kind of has to do with that more than anything else?
It could, yes. Yep. So it would provide for more latitude. This is one of the byproducts of remote learning from the height of the pandemic, is that the Department of Education is starting to recognize that there might be certain instances where we might want to be able to leverage remote learning to still take place and still be able to count that as part of our learning days as well as hours. Certainly it depends on a number of factors, such as power, and Wi-Fi access and those things. And that's why part of the law requires us to notify students and families in advance. But it would assist with that should we find ourselves in a similar predicament for extended periods of time when we know about it in advance.
Any more questions?
To the chair,
Yes.
I have several questions. First of all, according to the first paragraph of this agenda item, we're supposed to be approving a virtual instruction plan, and we have not seen a virtual instruction plan, so I'm not sure what it is we're voting on today.
Madam President, if I may.
Yes.
We would simply, should the board decide to take a vote, the board would just be voting as to whether or not we would want to enact the latitude that the new state statute allows us to leverage in those certain instances or not. It's one of the requirements if we want to take advantage of it. We can't just unilaterally do it operationally. It would require board action.
Yeah, but we're supposed to approve a plan. We're not just supposed to approve the fact that the law changed, so I'm confused.
Sure. So the plan would depend upon the situation, kind of like Board Member Winston pointed out. So, for example, the upcoming plan that would impact Thurston High School for October 25th involving their testing. So it would depend on those scenarios, because in certain situations we may or may not know about it, especially if it's inclement weather or whether it's a testing schedule, whereas with the testing schedule we would know in advance, which would allow us the opportunity to provide ample notification. Whereas in most situations with inclement weather it would not. But then there's also the latitude of if we were to adopt this as a Board of Education for possible professional development as well. So it's really situational. And the Michigan Department of Guidance has not issued any further guidance at this point in time. This is the only guidance that they've issued us so far, because it's, relatively speaking, it's hot off the press.
Chair,
Yes.
So to piggyback off what Jason is saying, because I talked to some of the teachers at Thurston today about this, and from what I gathered, we don't necessarily have to vote on a plan per se. We just have to vote on, in the event of something that's happening, that we can do this according to state law. Right?
Correct.
So whatever plan we come up with at any given time, this part of it is already done, from what I was explained earlier, somebody explained to me.
Correct.
To the chair,
Yeah.
per the thing that we got this morning, districts must get their plan approved by the board. So I don't understand why everyone keeps saying there is no plan, because if there's no plan, how are we supposed to approve this? Furthermore, looking at the actual law, the board is supposed to approve the curriculum that would be used for virtual learning, and
It would be the same curriculum.
Yes, the same thing.
Yeah, and that other
Other-
document is just a guidance, it's just a guidance document that, that another school entity put together to provide some initial guidance until MD puts out theirs.
but where's
This is just
South
a best
Redford's?
practice.
Where's South Redford's documentation, is what I'm asking.
Can you?
Madam President,
Yes.
I wondered if you wanted maybe some specifics to
Yes.
October 25th plan, because as to Mr. Beverly's point, like, there'll be some variance. But regarding remote learning, we learned some things from the pandemic. And, you know, the board has been kind enough to help us, along with ESSER dollars, invest in some of those things that helped us get our footing. So I'll give you some context, I hope it'll help. So all of our curriculum for the secondary level, including the standards that are taught, tools for that standard. Granted, there are still paper things too, but it is housed in something called the Canvas Learning Management System. Colleges use it, some use other learning management system, but it's where AP Bio lives. It's where this course lives, this week's lessons, this unit, and so on. Part of that was to help us keep our big rock of the guaranteed viable curriculum where it needs to be and where it needs to be built and how it needs to be adjusted. And that doesn't mean that it's in the absence of an instructor, but I just wanted to give you that part. So on the 25th, because of the needs of staff to be able for us to give a really good, solid run to PSAT and the other secondary, assessments that we need to give again in the spring that have now moved digitally, and to be able to have that be successful for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, in addition to provide the safety course that Superintendent Betsky talked about, our seniors will have an opportunity to work in Canvas. They can come into the school should they need to in the cafeteria, and they'll be support, but we need the support of those other staff members for the testing. They will have a two-way interaction in their course. So typically in those courses, there's a Zoom link opportunity, and if there isn't, in this case, there would not be that day. The students work on an assignment or course and receive immediate feedback in terms of what they're working on within that unit or that plan. So it really stays along the course of what the learning is when the students are in person as well. And that's designed too, so it could help us in an emergency situation. And then the safety course is so that the students have an opportunity to be able to participate and get that safety, you know, that direct safety training for them. So that's the plan on the 25th.
Mr. President, if I may, just to add on, just totally different from the curriculum side of things. Last year, because of the cyber attack days, the DTE days, the snow days, all of those days, we went over our days. That comes with penalties, financial penalties to the district. I'm not sure how everything shook out, but it looks like we may not have to endure that financial penalty, but this is almost like insurance for just in case something did happen again when we get to that stage where we actually can do remote and that day still count, and then now we don't, you know, get penalized by the state and the 180-day clocks, you know, and all those kind of things. So I think it's a good practice. I think the plan, you know, depends on the situation, as Jason mentioned earlier. We come up with the plan then. But without this insurance, we could put ourselves back in another situation.
Thank you.
to the chair?
Yes.
I would just like to point out that I found online, other school districts do have their plans posted, and that's why I'm confused as to why we have nothing on our website and we have nothing for this meeting. And I'm really concerned on voting for something regarding state law when there's nothing been presented to us by our attorney or Neola, and it would fall under policy. And I wrote down which policy number it is. P02370.01, which has not been updated since 2014.
What was that again?
P023701.01. I just don't think we should be voting on something that could have legal ramifications for us.
And like I said to you earlier, we have an opportunity to test this
On October
22nd with our seniors. So,
So we're doing something when there's no policy in place, there's no written plan, and we are doing this because it's last minute when we knew this
it's
was
not last
coming?
minute.
Madam President.
If you knew the
Yes.
testing was gonna be at the end of October though, and you knew the schedule for the year, it is last minute, because that's why we're voting on it today.
Well-
Madam President.
Go ahead.
This information is new just within the last several weeks and was brought to us and encouraged from Wayne County RESA, which is one of our largest supports here in the county. And they provided that guidance to all 30 public school districts in the state of Michigan. And they're encouraging school boards to consider adopting this language. I don't believe that it would require any potential policy. Certainly that would be up to the board, especially because it's state statute. But additionally, just to echo what Amy Davidson had shared too, part of the reason to consider this evening is so that that plan can be communicated to both families as well as staff as early in advance as possible, because our next Board of Education meeting is not until October 23rd. And so if we had followed our normal sequence based on when we recently received this information, then that information would only provide us with one day to communicate that effectively to both families as well as staff. And we just didn't feel like that was doing right by our students and staff when we have an opportunity to come together this evening.
So, to the chair.
Yeah.
So, to try to understand what you're saying. So when I was talking earlier today about this, I asked questions earlier today, but to me, I'm thinking back to the pandemic when it first started and we had to shut down everything completely because nobody had a plan, how to do things. And then everybody was individually coming up with their own stuff, which, districts are different. So to me, like you said, this is an insurance policy. Who knows, we might have a pandemic again where we have to shut down. Like you said, we have extra days and extra things that are happening. So this gives us 15 extra days before we are penalized. Is that correct?
Correct.
Before we would go into that penalty phase that we are in now, or however you want to put that. But talking to one teacher in particular.
And that's the expectation of our legislators as well.
Right. So to me, the plan that we had in place when we came back to virtual learning from the pandemic was a plan to me. You know what I mean? It may be tweaked a little bit or whatever. So you are specifically saying that we need a plan today to vote on.
Yes, because the amendment took place on October 1st. The act itself has been in effect since 2014, and ours has not been updated. And most of our policies are based on state statutes. So that's why I would have appreciated legal or Neola to have an input on it, because I don't want us voting and deciding on things, then not having a policy in place to protect us if we needed that protection.
I understand what you mean. At the same time, I know RESA would not endorse if they weren't encouraging us to do that.
But they don't know our policies and stuff.
I understand.
RESA doesn't know a lot of the districts that they serve policies. If we're going to talk about straight policy and what we do and
Yeah,
different things
but
that
we have
do.
to worry about our district and
Yeah.
protecting ourselves from legal ramifications.
Wait. We're not doing this right now. We're gonna
We're having
vote.
a discussion.
I know. But we're not going back and forth.
That's what a discussion is, Shirley.
I said we're not doing this right now. And we're gonna vote.
We're gonna vote without my questions being answered because I had
What
questions that were
questions?
unanswered. Legal, Neola,
Well, yes, we are.
why there
Yes,
is
we
no
are.
plan, so you're gonna vote on a plan that is
Yes,
not
we
presented
are,
to you.
because you want to know something? When we came back from pandemic, we had a plan.
That is not based off of the amendments made to this law in the past week,
We're going to vote on
and
this.
it's a completely different thing.
We are going to vote on this, and if you
Did you
don't...
even read this act?
No, I didn't.
So we're voting, and the board doesn't even understand what we're voting on, and the president doesn't understand what we're voting on.
I didn't say I didn't understand. That was
So
you said.
you understand what people have told you, but you haven't yourself read it.
We're going to vote on this because it's on our agenda.
Well, I'm going to
Madam
recuse
President?
myself from voting because I don't want to be legally liable for this.
Okay, you can do that.
Madam President?
Yes.
If it would be beneficial for the board, I'd be happy to read the statutory language prior to additional conversation or prior to casting the vote, if that's of assistance, and if it's not, that's fine, just putting it out there.
It's going to be the will of the board.
Well, that's sad that the board didn't get enough time to learn
That's
more
your
about it.
opinion.
Can I finish? The board was not given enough notice on this topic. We only had a couple days to even ask questions, and the only document we got was this morning. And we're not doing our due diligence if we don't ask questions and we don't question things. It shouldn't be forced on us just because it was decided last minute to utilize.
I don't feel like this is being forced on us.
Well, that's an opinion.
Okay, and that's your opinion too.
Well, I'm going on the facts, and the facts are we don't have a plan in front of us to vote on, and we don't have the answers to the questions that were asked.
Okay, well, that's your opinion.
No, that's how you do due diligence as a
And
board
my
member.
thing is, the policy that you gave me from 2014, evidently, no, I didn't read it, and I would have.
I'm talking about the statute, Shirley,
I read the statute, and the policy.
and most of our policies are based on state statute. But we're gonna be voting on a state statute that we haven't added to our policies per Neola or per legal advice.
Can I talk about it?
And you have no
So-
concerns about that.
Yes, I do have concerns about it. So you think that we should wait
Yes.
wait just a second, until our next meeting? So that means that our testing that our high school is gonna be having on the 22nd, you don't care if the parents, it says that we have to notify the parents.
Correct.
We're not gonna notify the parents in one day before, the day before.
So we're backed into a corner because this wasn't decided at the last previous meetings.
But we didn't have the information.
We still don't have the information, but we're voting on it now.
We don't have a lot of information that we don't.
The reason why we're voting on it now is because our students, our seniors, will be doing a practice testing on October 25th.
And this gives time.
And our next board meeting is not until October 23rd. So you wanted to wait until October 23rd and not give the parents any time to let them know about this. Is that what you're saying?
I don't understand any of this because there was no presentation, this was not explained, and you keep mentioning the virtual learning plan from after COVID. Why isn't that being used instead of this amendment? Why do we have to vote on this specific amendment now? Why can't you use what already was in place?
The intention of the statute is to provide as much latitude for school districts as we've talked about here this evening, that I shared, that Amy shared, that James shared, and that several members of the Board of Education have shared too, is to just provide as much latitude as possible based on the situation and circumstances at that time.
So if we
And
didn't,
that's why the legislators brought the statute about, because previously it was never there before.
well, there was something there before because it was passed in 2014, but the amended portion is what's unclear to me. And I don't understand why if we just postpone voting on this, why you still can do what you plan to do based on the virtual learning stuff that we had in place before.
You could, but we only give staff and families 1 day at best versus
According to what
providing
though?
greater notice.
Our virtual learning plan
The date of the testing that we.
after COVID.
The October 25th, there's some high school budget that Amy talked about.
I'm not talking about like the 1 day after our board meeting. I'm talking about the district using the virtual plan that's already in place to do the testing and stuff, where we would wait to vote on this until a future board meeting. Why can't you just go off of the plan you already have?
We are though, right?
No, this is
It'd
different.
be the same
No,
curriculum.
that,
The curriculum isn't any
the
different
curriculum
It's
is
the
in
same.
there.
in
Yeah.
this instance. I mean, the only other instance I could think of,
It's a documented two-way interaction between the teacher and
correct,
student.
it's allowing for the days. The
Yeah.
system, should we have to have a remote day in 2 days?
Right.
You know, we have a plan already in place. Those plans are actually posted on the district website.
I couldn't find them
There,
for virtual
yeah.
learning. I looked this morning.
Ferris showed me where they were.
They're
we
actually
have
in the trans- you
access?
click on the
We
transparency
Yeah.
plan,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yes.
go within, that's where we put
You have to, yeah, it's
and all
not,
those other
yeah,
things.
you have to find it, but it's there.
They're noted in there. I'll be happy to show you too. So, you know, what's available to the students, what's going to be made available to the students isn't different. It's not like a whole other, I mentioned Canvas and all the, you know, the curriculum that we've built. That's no different. It's the allowance of this statute in being able to have some discretion in doing so. That was much tighter in the last year.
But to my
Since we returned to
understanding,
all.
this statute went into effect. So you can already go ahead and do the 15
Not
days
without
notice.
the board.
Yes, you can. The voting of what we approve is a plan for the district. And this would be clarified with Lego or Neola.
But if that's the case, do we do that with every statute that changes in the policy?
For most of them, yeah, Neola does
We
do
don't
that.
need that. I'm talking about us as a board. Do we, as a district?
I don't know, that would be the policy committee. and I'm not on
Exactly,
that.
I am.
Well,
And
then
we
you should know.
don't do that like every single thing. We meet a
What
couple of
we're
times a year.
voting on, we're not voting on a plan.
That's
We're-
what it says in the wording, though.
We are voting on 21F, which
Districts must get their virtual instruction plan approved by the board. We're not voting on the statute, on whether or not to
Yes, we
implement
are.
it. No, we're not, because the state statute already went into effect. We are supposed to
But
be
we still
voting
have to
on
vote
their
on it.
plan.
We still have to
we
vote on the
still
statute
have to
itself.
vote on.
If we want to
state
enact it.
statute.
No, we
To
don't.
amend it.
Okay, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna take it's gonna be the will of the board. Because it says 21F of the state school aid plan.
Yeah.
And that's what we're voting on. We're not voting, our plan, didn't Amy just say that the plan hadn't changed?
Well, in that case, we should have just had a printout copy on our desk. We're not voting on the statute, Shirley. We have no say in the statute. It went into effect when the state approved
But we
it.
still have to approve
We have
the
to approve
statute.
their, no, that's not how that works, and you should have called the lawyer if you had questions about it.
I didn't have questions because I understood.
Well, that's a problem, that you didn't ask questions about it. And you clearly do not
Okay.
understand it because you're not even
That's it.
reading this.
I did read it.
It says right there, districts must get their
Excuse me,
virtual
Amanda.
instruction
Amanda.
plan approved by the board.
Excuse me.
I'm reading it to you because you clearly
We
didn't
have
read it.
that already.
We do not. It has not been
We did,
presented to
was
us.
during the pandemic. We approved that during the pandemic.
We
We're
didn't
gonna,
approve
we're
anything for
going to
this.
vote
There is no
on,
plan.
we're going to vote.
On what?
We're gonna vote on this 21F of the.
You can't vote on a state statute. It was already approved by the state.
It said it has to be approved by the board.
The plan has to be approved by the
We
board.
didn't change the plan.
Well, then why are we voting on anything? Why is this discussed and considered today?
What makes you think that it shouldn't be a discussion
Because we should have had information and presentation and documentation, had a discussion.
Didn't Amy
Waited a
just
little
say
bit.
that
I'm
the
still
plan
talking,
didn't
Shirley.
change?
Oh, okay. We got stopped.
Yes, I'm not doing this tonight.
Well,
I'm
you keep
really
cutting me
not
off
getting
when
that.
I'm trying to keep you from getting into legal trouble.
I'm not gonna get in.
Okay, well, that is your opinion then, because you didn't bother
You
to
don't have to
talk
vote.
to the
Okay.
lawyer or Neola about it.
All right, that's it.
You don't even know what you're voting on.
Yes, I do.
What are you voting on? A statute that was already passed by the state?
All right. We have a resolution.
To vote on a plan,
Do I have a board member?
which there is no
Madam
plan.
President, I move the adoption of the following resolution.
It's been adopted by Mrs. Early. Do I have a support?
Support.
It's been supported by Mr. Winston. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
sorry.
Why, it doesn't matter, everybody's just gonna agree with you.
I didn't ask you, I'm not, I said I wanted a vote. You're not gonna do it?
Fine. Daniel Winston,
Aye.
Anthony Johnson,
Aye.
Misha Early,
Aye.
Amanda Fletcher, nay, Shirley Tolliver.
Aye. Resolution adopted. Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience. We have none. I have a comment. First of all, don't forget on October the 30th, that we have a special board member meeting scheduled on governance. And I was asked by a board member to get this together for us, for this board. And I did that. And then I get an email a text yesterday saying that the township does something on October the 30th, the day before Halloween, and that they couldn't attend our special workshop. Now, when I'm asked to do something, I do it. And I do not appreciate at the last minute being sent a text stating they can't come to something that they asked for. I don't appreciate that.
I'm gonna call a point of order because this has nothing to do with any of the agenda items. We're supposed to be having comments from the audience and then a plus delta. If you wanted
And
to
I
make a
said I had a
comment,
comment.
that should have been done during board communications, and now you're not even following your own agenda.
Well,
No, it's true.
you know what? I did not want to embarrass you in front of all the people
You're
that
not
were here.
embarrassing me. If you wanted to talk about it with me, you could have talked to me about it before the meeting, after the meeting, you could have called me, you could have responded to my text.
No, because you know
You are
what?
bringing it to the table, which is a violation
I
of
am.
policy by calling out another board member. And I don't
No, I'm
understand
talking-
what your point
I'm-
is.
Excuse
No,
me.
just calm down. It'll be all right.
The comments is from the audience, topic, not related to the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is plus delta for improvement.
Madam President, board, what processes help the board's work this evening? Pluses?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I like to set up for this, usually we go to these schools and, I have a little chair or space, but, this was actually a good setup. I'm not facing the door, it's, a grown-up chair. So, I think the setup, so, plus for my man Chris back there for the setup. My guy.
Had nothing to do with this.
That's it.
to the chair. I would like to thank Keith Cooper for all of his hard work in researching the AEDs. It was a long time coming, and I know we first started talking about it back in June, so to finally have that ready to go and him tell us that they're gonna be here on Monday is just like really good news. And then also thank you to the PTO for providing the Olive Garden today.
They did that?
They
Yeah,
did.
put me down for a plus there too then. I didn't know who did that. Oh, thank you, PTO. I want to plus that too.
Other pluses? Opportunities for improvement.
I have one. While I know that we are a little fractured sitting up here in this board, I would really love for us to extend respect and grace, even in a debate or argument, to each other. I don't ever want to see anybody get this upset again, because that's not cool for anything that we plan to do as a board. It's not fair to each other, it's not fair to the district or community that we serve.
And it's not fair for this board. No, I didn't attack you.
Did.
Oh,
We can't continue. We cannot.
Other opportunities.
Everybody, we
Other
cannot continue
opportunities
that.
for improvement.
why should I have to leave it alone? She did.
I'm not saying leave it alone, I'm saying calm down. 'Cause
No,
you're
she
upset.
said what she felt.
She did,
Always.
she did,
So,
but that's okay.
we're gonna get on the conversation.
It's all right. Yep. You can take it later.
I'm not continuing any.
Okay,
I'm done.
okay,
Okay, I'm done.
all right.
I have busted my behind.
Yes.
It is, yeah, I think that's all.
Yep.
That's it.
There's nothing further that comes before this meeting. I adjourn.